Hello and welcome to the Animators Shake-Up, a webcast where animators talk about animation. On this episode, I chat with Liza Kii, an animator and webcomic illustrator who's seen their social media fly with their first ever webcomic, City of Light. Why not listen along while you work on your own animations and have us for company? So sit back, relax, as we shake it up with some fellow animators on the Animators Shake-Up. Hello and welcome to the Animators Shake-Up. Today I'm joined by Liza Kii, also known as Liza. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, all right. I've got my milkshake here in front of me. You've got a milkshake in front of you.
Yeah, I do.
What is it that what is it that you've gone for?
Definitely here. It's I don't know. I'll have to taste it. I said,
oh right, you just said
surprise me.
Chef's choice.
Yeah. Do you know what? That tastes kind of like grass.
Grass. You know what? That's what happens when you say surprise.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes sense given how green it is.
Yeah. They were just pulling out handfuls of grass, so maybe I should have put two and two together. Really.
Yeah, hang on a minute. But at least you know it wasn't hay. It didn't come out like yellow.
Yeah,
it was definitely grass.
That would have been so much worse.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, yeah, I think we do have a lot of cows that come in here, so that does make sense.
Oh yeah, no, I saw some.
It's like the perfect blend for a cow because you got milk and you've got grass.
Yeah, because I'm sure cows enjoy drinking their own milk.
Well, the young ones do.
Yeah, I guess.
I have to, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone with something somewhat thematic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've because it's sort of around this time. I've gone with I've actually forgotten their. Oh, that's it. I went with mini eggs.
Ooh.
Like a mini egg blend.
Eggs. See, that's a normal milkshake.
Well, you know, if you ask, they can do normal ones for you as well, which is quite
they just
nice.
asked me and I just completely blanked and I just like.
No, it happens.
It was just so embarrassing. They won't let me back probably.
They probably will. They're pretty open to things, and again, at least it isn't hay, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be worse.
The
right?
only issue is, yeah, that's true. The only issue is with mini eggs is you've got the like really hard shell on these things. So I always feel like occasionally, like they either get kind of like stuck in your teeth or it stabs your gums. So I've got to be a little bit careful.
It probably doesn't blend up so well in a milkshake, right?
No, it's just like sort of shards of sugar.
Yeah. Well, sometimes like it's kind of fun. You never know if the next sip's gonna hurt you or not. You know.
Yes, like life.
Like life, and that's the thrill of life, isn't it?
If you ask for a drink of life, they just blend up mini eggs.
Yeah, right. It gets the point across.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Oh dear. Amazing. I mean, to be fair, like maybe grass is the better option when you really step back and look at the pain that I'm enduring.
There's no surprises. It just all tastes grassy. Yeah. Consistently disgusting, but at least it's consistent.
Yeah, amazing. So, Liza, tell us a bit about you. What are you? What do you make? What do you do?
What am I? That is the question.
Yeah.
So I'm Liza, as you already know, and I am an artist, an animator, and I have a comic on Webtoon called City of Light, which I've been working on for almost a year now. And yeah, I make animations of my characters on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts. At first it was just to promote my comic, but now I sometimes just make them for the fun of it because I actually like it.
What?
I know. Sometimes.
Amazing. Yeah, no, when you do one, you're like, okay, and not for a while.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's always like that.
Yeah.
Amazing. So yeah, you've really kind of like you've really explored like multiple mediums with your illustrative
Mm.
style, which is really nice. I really love it when people kind of develop their creative interests, their style with their drawings, and they sort of play around with the media that it's represented in or it's communicated in. It's really
Mm.
nice to see. Because what did you say? Did you start with illustration before you went and did animation, or did you start the other way around?
Yeah. So I mean I've kind of been drawing all my life, really. But I first decided to make a comic like a couple of years ago, and so I started from that, and I got back into drawing a lot and just trying to get better. Really, I went a lot of years not drawing much, and I was trying to kind of develop a style, and I think when I wanted to put my comic online and find an audience, um, looking on TikTok, it seemed that like animation memes and
Hmm.
things like that were a really good way to reach a lot of people. So that was my the kind of reason why I decided to get into animation, was kind of as a promotional tool.
Mm-hmm.
Now it turns
Mm-hmm.
out maybe it's not the most efficient, since both making a webcomic and animating are extremely time consuming.
Yeah. Oh
But
my gosh.
um it's great because I kind of discovered the whole medium of animation as something that I really loved, um
Mm.
by itself,
Mm.
and yeah, it's kind of opened up a whole world of possibilities for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm also fascinated about the world of webcomics as well because I mean, I've pretty much been kind of out of the loop with them. I've only kind of been introduced to them through, I think, both your content and also back in the day with like Ed's World, if you're
Hmm.
ever familiar with Ed's World. Um,
I know the name.
and I see, yeah, it was like, I think it was an animated series on YouTube. And nowadays, I think it's more webcomic based. But
Mm.
um, but yeah, I mean, like, how did you like get into the world of webcomics? Like, what was the induction to it? Because it's so vast. Yet I feel like I've kind of left it untapped. I haven't really explored it at all. So how did you get into it?
Yeah, I think I discovered it was through the Webtoon app, that I discovered, and I discovered that on TikTok. Honestly, like most things in my life, they've come from TikTok, for
Mm.
better or for worse. But this, I'd say Webtoon definitely for better. Um, I saw other artists promoting Webtoons on TikTok, and yeah, I mean that's how I got into reading them. And
Mm.
I think I've always loved storytelling. I think that's like one of my main like creative drives is to tell stories. And I've always written things. I've written a couple of books, not published, but you know, as fun
Mm. Mm.
exercises. And
Yeah.
I think finding Webtoon as a platform where anyone can upload, anyone can upload a comic on Webtoon Canvas and reach people. And I think seeing a medium where you could unite storytelling and art, it
Mm.
just it just felt like a perfect marriage for me
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
of me of media. Um,
Yeah.
and it's more accessible than like making a whole animated show or anything.
Yeah.
Or even, you know, short films require like lots of people and equipment. And it was a way I could get stories out there visually that I could do completely by myself, I guess. It's what really drew me to it. And yeah, yeah, the platform webtoon was really conducive to that.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah, that
that
makes a lot of
means.
sense. It's like, yeah, no, because it like showed you the possibilities. Yeah, no, I love that. I think that is really interesting, and especially for people who are at that stage where they've got lots of ideas, but they want to communicate them in really visually appealing ways. I think it does. It makes it really accessible. So that's really nice to know that there's something like that out there for it. I suppose. Have you looked into or tried? Because I think I've seen a couple of places do this, like almost like smaller comic strip parts of stories that are simply just regularly uploaded to places like Instagram instead. Did you try that, or did you just sort of go straight in with webtoons?
Yeah, I've seen people do that. I actually did upload a couple of mini comics onto TikTok first. And uh that was kind of like an experiment for me. To try drawing these characters and just have a go at drawing a comic, I guess, and seeing what the kind of response would be. I think I wanted to have it on Webtoon because I wanted it to be like an organized episodic thing. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the scrolling format of Webtoon. So it's like a comic's like a long strip and you scroll and it's all one connected thing. And I think it's quite an elegant way to arrange a comic for, you know, phones and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't really do anything on Instagram. I didn't have a following on Instagram until a lot later. I kind of built everything on TikTok first. So that's where I first kind of tried things out, like mini comics and things like that. But
Yeah. And how's all that been? Because I know you said it's like a lot of work when you are constantly making animations for it. But you don't just upload animations. You do a variety of different things that you put out there online. Like, how has that been? Because like I'd say you've been quite successful with how you have communicated your work, and you've got a following and things like that. It'd be lovely to hear how you went about doing all that. It's really fascinating.
that is an interesting one, yeah. So I think my start into like building a following was the animation memes. And if you're not familiar with animation memes, it's like basically a trend where loads of different animators are doing the same thing, basically, or an animation based on a key meme, basically. It might be an audio or a certain, like a dance or like an action. And it's a great way to get like virality on TikTok, which is, you know, it's obviously a very trend focused platform. And I think a lot of people maybe, I've spoken to other animators who don't like TikTok because of that, because it's very trend focused and who kind of reject the idea of doing trends and things like that. And I totally understand that because it can feel like you're kind of selling out your artistic integrity just for popularity. And I totally get that. But I think my perspective going into it was the thing that I have my full artistic integrity with is my comic. So for me, the
Yes.
animations were merely a way to get that comic out to more people. And I think
Yeah.
that it's definitely worked for me. I've kind of got to a point where I'm consistently making these animations and I've been able to consistently grow my following more and more through doing that. But I would also argue that just because you're doing something that is a trend or an animation meme, it doesn't mean you have to give up complete artistic integrity. Every time I do one, I try and put my own little spin on it or make it applicable to my characters or my story. And I still have a lot of fun with it. You know, I'm never making animations and going like, I hate this, but I guess it will get views. Like, I'm never thinking that, because if I did, like, I wouldn't spend like weeks making something if I didn't like it. So I think
no, you sort of bring your own aspect to it.
exactly.
But I kind of want to pause there, because you've talked about something which I think is so key that a lot of artists don't think about, which is you have your art, and you have the thing that you care about, and you have your marketing.
Exactly. Exactly. That is what it is. That is what the animations are. But they're my marketing.
Yeah, but this is it. I think people have got to realize that doing those parts isn't the art.
Exactly.
Like, you've cleverly put your own spin, your own take on it, which is exactly what you should be doing, which is wonderful. But you're not getting bogged down in the fact that you're making these things, because you've separated it, which is exactly what people need to do.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I've never put it into those exact words before, but that's true. That is kind of what it is. I'm gonna put that on my CV. Thanks for that.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Yeah.
You can take that with the grass milkshake.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It tastes so much better now. Yeah. Exactly. What was I going to say?
Yeah, you put your own aspects into how you approach it. You put your characters into the animation, even if you're working off a meme or a trend. You're like, right, but how do my characters interact with this particular trend?
Exactly.
How does my story relate? And I think that is really nice. That's where you're going. I just felt like we needed to really highlight that really important part that you spoke about, because so many people they just don't think about it.
No, I think
bonkers.
I've been putting things on the internet for like quite a long time, and I think I know now that I've come to learn that just putting things out there, putting art out there, it's not really enough to get people to see it. You know, you might get a couple, but if you really want to grow an audience, you have to market your content. You have to market your art.
Yeah.
And I think some people feel like almost that's like a shameful thing to do. I don't know, like selling out and not being. I've definitely talked to people who kind of have that view, and I don't think it is. I don't think it is selling out, you know?
No, I don't think so. It's simply thinking like a professional artist rather than a starving artist.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
You're still an artist. You just need to know that you're in a world where you need to be able to pay for food and rent.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And you're not compromising by saying, but I'm going to work a load of shifts in something completely unrelated to art, which is fine to do when you're getting started. But at least to think with that mindset, you're developing that audience that can eventually, one day, maybe, who knows, support you, which is great, or just commission you for things.
Exactly.
Which I think you've been doing commissions as well, right?
I have been. Yeah, I have been doing commissions. And yeah, like you were saying, promoting myself in this way and growing a platform, it has been in my mind for it to become a more reliable income stream. And now that I've grown to the size I am, I can't support myself fully as an artist, but I'm definitely making money now, and through Patreon and commissions, and it's really amazing. It's really rewarding to kind of see that work pay off. And I think the most rewarding thing for me has been to have my art and my characters resonate with people, and a lot of people.
Yes.
Like it's just so cool to see, I think, as someone who's always made
Yeah.
stories and characters, but they've always just kind of been mine and in my head. And to see now, like tens of thousands of people appreciating them is amazing. It really is. Like it feels so good. I'm not gonna
It's
lie
really
about
cool.
that.
Like it's really cool. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, no, good on you. And the thing is, it's like you have worked for it. Like you've done the grind that is the marketing aspect. You've brought people in. You've worked with the algorithm. You've got that audience base, and you've made something which is really good that people resonate with. It's like you can't undersell that. It's just great. I think it's really, really cool. And I suppose this actually leads very nicely into this sort of next question here, which is what were some of your like biggest inspirations for coming up with City of Light and developing that webtoon as a whole?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, well, a big inspiration. Well, I mean, I think firstly, the webtoons that I've read inspired me when it comes to the medium, and seeing how well you can communicate a story through the kind of scrolling comics. Before I'd only ever like written things like long form, like novel kind of things. But this particular story is one I've kind of had in my mind for a really, really long time, actually. And I tried to like write it as a book, of course, but it just never worked. I could never get it to work. And I think it's when I realized that it needed that visual component to really sell it. And I think that's just the medium that it was made for, that I was able to kind of make it into what it is now.
Yeah.
So City of Light's clearly set in a world that's similar to ours, but different in some key ways. And I've always been like fascinated by parallel universes and fantasy in general, really. I think. I mean, that comes. I read his Dark Materials as a child. If you familiar?
No, I haven't read them, but yeah.
Well, that's something completely of itself, but that features like parallel worlds and crossing between different realities and things like that. And I've always been inspired by the idea of like an alternative Earth, I guess, and that led into the setting of this. But I guess the core of the story, if we want to go there,
Yeah, let's hear about it. I want to know I'm sure people want to know what it's about. Yeah.
It's about like finding somewhere where you belong, essentially. Like the characters, all in their own ways, start off kind of lost. And, in this kind of cold, dark world. But through each other, they find a home, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And in terms of like premise, it's kind of like, if I remember correctly, they are in these cities that are connected by beams of light, and the ones who are closer to that beam of light in the middle are like the richer ones, the ones who are more wealthy, and then the further you get from that light, you get further into darkness. You get greater areas of poverty,
yes.
as you get further from the light. So it's all very like hierarchical, based on light.
Of course.
But you've got loads of cities connected by various light elevators. Is that correct?
That's exactly it.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's pretty clearly
Yeah, so cool.
a fun commentary as well on an unequal society. So that's fun. That's definitely at the core of it too. Kind of examining what an unequal society may look like as a hypothetical idea.
If it were
As something
a
just
physical
a fun thought
representation.
experiment that's not connected to reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's often where the best ideas come from as well. Where there's, just what if? What
Right,
if
exactly.
we had it like that? Yeah.
What if the rich had privileges that everyone else doesn't?
Just imagine what that would be like.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But the story is very much in its infancy right now. So I guess that's why I'm not going into extreme detail about a lot of the inspiration and the ideas, because I don't want to give huge spoilers. We're only on episode 9
Yes,
right
of
now.
course.
And currently the character, our kind of core trio, Sam, Violet, and Dean, have met each other and are currently investigating a mystery or a series of mysteries.
Cool. Love that.
So that's where we are right now. Who knows what's going to happen next? I bet it's going to be crazy.
Watch and read now.
Yeah, if you want to find out what happens next, I guess you'll just have to subscribe on Webtoon and read what happens next. I don't know.
Now, when it comes to your behind the scenes planning side of things, again, I don't need to give away any spoilers or anything like that. But how far in advance have you written? Are you really far ahead because of how long it takes to illustrate these things, or are you kind of working out as you go based on audience responses and conspiracies and things like that?
Yeah, well, there definitely are theories and lots of audience responses, which I love. I love seeing people theorizing about it because it just means they're invested in the story, which is just amazing. But I think by virtue of me having developed this story over such a long time, I know the whole arc of the story. I know where it's going.
Yeah.
And I've written out a synopsis, just kind of in paragraphs, basically, the entire plot of what I'm calling season 1.
Nice.
So that's all very much planned out in that way. So that story, the major plot is all inked out. And then I have 2 more seasons planned after that, for which I know where they start, some of the things that happen and where they end. At least for season 2. Season 3 is a little bit hazier, but I kind of know where it's going.
Yeah. Cool.
I haven't written any of that down, which is perhaps bad. Maybe I should, because a whole thing with City of Light is I came up with this idea years ago, when I was in college. And then years later, I was like, I kind of like that idea. I should go back to it. But I'd forgotten so much of it and I never wrote any of it down. So now I'm clearly not learning from my own mistakes. But it's okay. I will write it down. But in terms of what planning on a more granular episode by episode basis, I do write out and script every episode before I make it. So currently I have the next, I think the next 2 or 3 episodes, fully scripted and written out. And then I have up to, I think, about episode 16, which is 7 episodes time, outlined and separated out. So,
cool.
yeah, I do plan a lot out in advance. But what often happens as I go along is I always underestimate how long How many? At least
I knew where this was going.
how many panels each episode is going to take? So a lot of the time, what was going to be one episode ends up being 2 episodes, or the boundaries between episodes move around because making comics takes a bloody long time, and it can be hard to know how many panels, like how many drawings it's going to take to communicate different parts of the story. And sometimes I'm like, no, it needs an extra one, or it needs a few more lines. And then before you know it, like, I have to split an episode. That's actually what happened with the previous episode. It was going to be one episode. Episodes 8 and 9 were going to just be one, but it was taking me so long, and I was feeling like I was just never going to finish episode 8 if it was as long as it was. So I ended up cutting it in half. And people did say, oh, that episode was really short. I'm like, I did it for my own sanity. Like, I had to split it, or you weren't going to get an episode, okay?
Sit down.
But that's just something that happens. I split things, and sometimes as well I do take into account what people are saying. And there are some aspects of the story that I haven't maybe completely set in stone. And those things, I can't say they won't be influenced by the audience response. And that's it's a new thing for me to have external influence on my stories. That's definitely a way that my art has changed since having an audience, because since they are my audience, they are the people who want to see what I do, it's kind of inevitable, at least for me, to incorporate what they want into my thought process behind like what I make.
I definitely think taking the time to at least consider what audience is doing, and then maybe twisting it and letting your own perspective shape it. I think that's a really nice and natural combination, and then that way it's not overwhelming or controlling the story, but you're like, that's an interesting thought. We'll pocket that, and we'll twist it round, and we'll develop it into, because that's what creativity is, really. It's just like that, taking that inspiration and twisting it. And I think the fact that you can do that actively with an audience who are reading, I think that's so cool that we can do that nowadays. Rather than
like
just writing everything and then putting it out there.
Adjust kind of in real time, with like real time audience participation, almost. Not quite. Like, I do have my key points that are kind of fixed.
Yes. Yeah.
But that have actually been ways though that I have changed the story as I've gone along without the audience participation. Like, I've realized some parts are maybe overcomplicating things. That's generally something I've done, is I've simplified the story as I've gone along. I think definitely after having written a few episodes and drawn a few and seeing how long that took, how many weeks it takes me to make episodes, there have been times where I've taken characters out, or just to keep the focus on our core characters, because otherwise you don't spend enough time with them.
No, it's a smart management of the medium as well. It's good. Keeps you sane.
Yeah, well,
I suppose
almost.
with that, almost. Yeah,
almost.
as good as
as close as I'll ever be.
What's been your favorite aspect of working on City of Light? I'm sorry, I'm throwing really difficult questions.
No, they're good questions. I honestly, I think it has been having having people resonate with my creation. As I don't know if that sounds egotistical, or whatever, but I think I've always wanted to have people see things that I make. And because I believe in my creativity and stories I have to tell, and it is very gratifying to see that people enjoy them, and I've made characters that people resonate with and a world that is compelling. As a creator and a storyteller, it is rewarding to see that, and having an audience kind of behind me and a community. I think since gaining a following on Instagram specifically, I really do feel like I have a community, which is really wonderful. A community of people who are theorizing about my comic and, excited to see what happens next. And I don't know, it's really nice. And it's propelled me forward, I think. I think without all of the, success that I have had with building a community and everything, I wouldn't have had the motivation to work on this as much as I have, because I work on this a lot, a lot. I put a lot of hours into all of these things, and I've put a lot of work into improving my art. I think there's a really clear progression in my art from episode 1 to now. And I don't think I would have had the motivation to put all the work in to become a better artist if it wasn't for, the support of the community. And I think that's been the most transformative aspect of this personally. I don't know. And I don't think it is shallow to say that, or it's not about just getting attention. It's so much more than that. I don't know. It's connecting with people through my art, which is something I've always wanted. So it's great. And
I see it. Yeah. It's about weighing up the value that you get from an audience. What value does it bring? Because okay, great, it might bring in money if that's something that is what you wanted, but it's as you say, there is these other elements to it that you are looking for, this idea of connection through work, and that makes total sense to say, yes, so therefore I put so much more energy into this because it was doing that aspect of what I wanted my art to always do. And I think that is really nice. Because I think, sure, it's, you've got extrinsic motivation, which is, for those of you who don't know, that's where you've got outside people giving you the sort of thumbs up and you go, brilliant, now I'll carry on. But at the same time, you yourself are getting intrinsic value of that idea of feeling like there is community, which I think is totally, it makes a lot of sense, basically. Yeah. And I remember you were saying on one of your Instagram posts that you were talking about going back and redrawing old or of the first episodes of the comic.
Yeah.
Do you still feel like doing that? Because it feels like that's going to sort of take up a lot of time from the new ones. Or are you going to save it for later? Or do you kind of want to keep them as they are to show how it's grown and developed?
Yeah, well, this has been a bit of a debate with my my audience and other artists I have spoken to and things like that. A lot of people have been saying to not redraw the early episodes because it shows your progression and it will take time away from the new ones. And I understand all of those arguments, but I have made the decision that I will redraw
Oh, wow.
episodes 1 through 3 and make edits to episode 4. And my perspective on this, and the reason I've come to this decision, is because I want City of Light to be a cohesive work that I can fully like put my name to and feel proud of. Right now, I don't feel that way about the first few episodes. I look at them and I see how much worse my art was back then. And, you know, I want it to be a more complete body of work, especially I have plans to make an official dub for the comic. And I have actually,
Yes.
as you know, actually, I have cast the roles, the main roles. I have voice actors in a Discord waiting for me to do something. But we'll get there. We will get there, team.
Yeah.
But so I will be kind of releasing those dubs with those with those kind of old episodes. And I don't want to put out new stuff featuring that old art. That's part of it.
Yes, that makes sense.
And currently I'm at a point where I feel like if I tell people like, oh, I've got a comic, I kind of want to say, but just like, don't look too hard at the first few episodes because the art's kind of bad. But then it gets like good.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to say that. I want the story to start as it needs to go on.
Yes.
So that is my plan, and I have decided on that. I think maybe I'll keep the original drawings available somewhere if people want to see them. I don't really imagine.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't imagine why anyone would. But a lot of people tell me that they like the old episodes.
Nostalgia. That's
I guess. But you know, that's my decision. Now, I'm not going to be doing that right now. It's the thing. I want to get the story progressed a little bit more, and then I'll go back and do that. But yeah, I do have my plan for when I'm going to do it, but I haven't announced it yet. So
yeah, that's right.
But it will be
closed.
Keep it closed. Yeah, that it's a highly confidential, top secret.
Yes. I signed the NDA, so
yeah. NDAs have been signed. But yeah, that's my decision. You know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, fair enough. And I think that's totally justified. Especially that idea of being like, yes, I'm a comic book artist. Go check it out here. But
yeah, exactly.
Like,
I don't want people.
I totally get.
And
that.
I worry that the first few episodes put people off. And I mean, from my numbers and stuff, I know that's not true, but it might do. It might put people off the poorer art in the first few episodes. I know that I have looked at comics, checked out episode 1, the art's not great, and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a terrible person. But
no, I think everyone does this.
I just want the first episode to have appealing art, and I want the characters to look as they do going forward, because I think from episode 5 onwards it's a lot more consistent, and I'm very happy with how it looks. Save a couple of typos, which is so embarrassing. But I don't have an editor. Look, it's just me. I wish I had an assistant, honestly. But
how easy is it for you to go back and like re-upload or edit them without losing any of the statistics? Is that quite easy to do?
Yeah, actually on Webtoon you can just go back and edit like everything about an episode, the title, the thumbnail. Good. And I know I've seen other comics where they've done this. That's where I actually got the idea. There was one, and there was a note saying, oh, by the way, I've redrawn all these old episodes to match my new art style. And I'm like, I should do that. And here we are.
Do you reckon in like 2 years' time we're going to look back at your redraws of the first 4 episodes and go, well, I should probably do them again.
Well, I don't think so. Because I think at the time I was making those first few episodes, I was still in a more experimental phase when it came to my art style.
Right, yeah.
I hadn't really settled on things or how I wanted to do everything. So things like changed quite a lot in those few episodes. Like I hadn't really found my footing. And honestly, I don't know if I was really ready to start putting the comic out. I just had my first video actually kind of pop off on TikTok. And I was like, okay, I have to strike while the iron is hot. And I kind of, maybe I rushed into it in that way, but since,
I think, probably did a good thing to do that.
It was probably,
so it makes sense as well.
But now I think since episode 5, which is a good few months ago now, I look at that episode and I'm still happy with it. And I've been doing things pretty much the same way since then, just maybe small improvements, but I think it's a very drastic change from the early days, and I don't think I will go, in like 2 years I'll feel like I need to redraw everything. That would be crazy. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But who knows who I'll be in the future. We never know these things, right? And that's why life's beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. I love this. We're laying down very quotable aspects.
Yeah,
it's great. But no, I think totally justified. I think again, almost approaching it from a marketing standpoint, making that first impression with those first episodes makes so much sense.
Exactly, and clearly I have a marketing brain.
I think you do
without even realizing it.
It's just there.
It's just there.
It's pre-wired in.
Yeah. Oh God.
Amazing. Like, oh no.
Oh no, wait. I don't know about this.
God, well, those things of life, we're just going to become things as time goes on.
Sometimes things that we don't like. But
no. Get it off of me. Get it off of me. Oh gosh. Well, this sort of brings us around to these kind of final wrap-up questions
like
of the episode here. Well, sometimes they can be quite long. We'll see.
Okay.
But I always ask these last three questions. Something similar anyway. My first one is, if you could go back to a younger you and tell them some advice. It could be to do with animation, or it doesn't have to be. What would it be?
Just have to be one piece, or can I make it a twofold answer?
Sure, do whatever you want.
Okay. I would go back to me at age like 10. And I would say, first I'd say, don't stop drawing.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
You're good at drawing and you should keep doing it. Right? And you should try drawing people, not just Lego figures and rabbits. And cats. That's all I really drew back then. Because that would save that would have saved me a lot of time more recently, having to kind of like relearn how to draw people and anatomy and stuff like that.
Right. But you're very good at drawing cylinders.
Yeah, well, cylinders. Oh, Lego figures. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. No, definitely. And like geometry. Yeah, absolutely. And rabbits. But
oh wow, yes.
But I'd say don't stop drawing, because I did stop drawing for a long time. And I'm saying you shouldn't have done that, because that's your calling. And also if you stop, then I'll have to like take a long time to like kind of relearn how to do it, and that'll be really annoying for older me. So like kind of just think about me for a second. No, sorry. And then I'll say sorry, that was too much. And then I'll say also,
fair.
it's okay and actually good to draw using references.
Yes.
Because I
Yes,
hated doing
agreed.
that. I hated drawing from references, like drawing still life. I always hated it. I just like to draw from my imagination. And I'm kind of the same. But like it goes without saying that drawing from references is gonna help you like become a better artist, obviously. So that's what I would probably say. And also never stop coming up with stories. You know, people will say you're dreamy, that your head's in the clouds, that, you know, you're always like coming up with fantasy stories and not focusing on the real world. But I'll say keep doing that. Because one day, one day, you'll have 60,000 followers on Instagram and it will all be worth it.
Hell yeah. Even without them, it's worth it, I think.
But that's how I communicate the value, you see. A way they'll
Right,
understand.
okay.
No, Instagram didn't even
And they'll
exist
say,
when
what's
I was
Instagram? Yeah.
They won't understand. They would understand. It's okay.
Yeah. No, that's totally fair. But no, I totally agree. I think this is the thing that people just associate creativity or creative thought with just coming up with stories or just like being a bit out there, separate yourself from reality. But in all honesty, being able to consistently practice the ability to think creatively or come up with new ideas is a skill, and it makes you so adaptable in life, like so adaptable. Just sort of speaking from my own sort of research and things is yeah, absolutely 100% behind that. Yeah, constantly make stuff, come up with ideas. Anyone listening, do the same. Don't stop drawing.
Yeah.
Come up with ideas.
Yeah.
Be bold.
You never know. You might have 60,000 subscribers one day too.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah. Just stick on those algorithms and market.
Yes.
Market your work. That's the other one.
Marketing is not a dirty word. Or it doesn't have to be.
No, it can be.
It definitely can be, but
yeah, if that's all you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Balance. I think balance, yeah. I suppose this brings us to my second wrap-up question, which is, other than City of Light, do you have any other projects sort of bubbling in the background or things which you're like, I would want to do this if I had a bit more time, or you're like, maybe I'll do it alongside it? I don't know. Is there anything else?
Interesting. I always have lots of other ideas kind of in the background. I have a book that I am in the process of writing. I started this quite a long time ago, just when I came out of uni. And that's something I'd like to be able to commit more time to at some point. But it's kind of got on the back burner whilst I've been focusing on City of Light. So there's that. I have a short animated film idea concept that I have shared with a few people. I have a couple of friends on board to hopefully work on that at some point. But that's in the very early stages. And yeah, I mean, I have a lot of City of Light related side projects that are in development, that aren't directly the comic, and that maybe are a little bit more than just promotional animations. I have some more fun stuff that I'm planning right now, but yeah, it a lot of the stuff moves very slowly, you know, animation, and especially when I've got, you know, I do have to like earn money and stuff like that. I wish, yeah. And making a comic is very time consuming, and I'm trying to focus on that until I get to a pause point.
Yes.
But I do have other things, and I think it would be quite refreshing to work on something else for a bit. But yeah, but nothing I really want to reveal too many details to the general public just yet.
But that's it. But things are in the works, and
Yeah,
plenty
yeah.
more episodes.
Yes, yeah,
Exciting.
yeah.
Very exciting. And that leads us very nicely to our final question, and probably the easiest one, which is, where do people find you, follow you, and keep up to date with all your stuff?
Right, yeah. So I'm at It's Liza Kii on Instagram and TikTok. My YouTube channel is Liza Kii, and my comic is City of Light on Webtoon. That's where you can find me.
Brilliant. And
yeah.
Key is spelled K-I-I.
Yes.
Just so people can search for it. Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Lizakii. Yeah.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, it's been a delight chatting with you today in this ice cream parlor.
Yes, it's really
I
lovely
hope you
here.
found a way of enjoying your grass milkshake.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a very yeah.
No, it was really nice.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
And I feel like I've probably cut my mouth in several places thanks to these mini egg
But that's
shards
life.
of that's life. You need like a little theme tune that plays every
exactly. Right. Yeah.
every time I bite into a mini egg.
Right. Exactly.
Same theme tune.
Well, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for having me on your esteemed
You're very
podcast.
welcome. Thank you.